Here we go. One, two, three, boom, boom, boom. Hi, this is Eric Stromquist. Welcome to Control Talk. Now you're Smart Building's videocast and podcast for the week ending July 29th, 2018. This is episode 276, where we talk about all things smart control. And I am joined, as usual, by the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, your co-host and mine, Kenny Smyers, the control man from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kenny, welcome to the show. Big dog.
Thank you very much, Eric. Yep, July's gone, baby. Put it in the books. We got a lot of good things looking forward to on the show here, and some big stuff coming up in August. We'll be getting,
I tell you what, I was, kind of going through the Twitter feeds this morning, and all the entertainment things and the Hollywood things, and it looked like there was a picture of you on a tour bus or something with some famous country singer.
In fact, I was very excited. On Friday, we had the opportunity and the pleasure of joining several of our friends at the Dan and Shay concert in Pittsburgh. They were the opening. Actually, they were the second act for the Rascal Flatts concert. But my cousin Danny Smyers, his son is Dan of Dan and Shay. And after the show, we got to rally up there, and a bunch of family and friends were out there. And what a nice guy. What a great talent. They're number one in country billboards. I believe they're the number one single and the number one album. So Dan and Shay is growing in popularity, but nice guy. Was in the same class as my daughter Sabrina, Dan was. And boy, could they jam. I'm not extremely country and Western oriented. I come from Pittsburgh, and I did have some friends that were very country music oriented, and a good friend of mine had a band. I like Willie Nelson, of course, but I never had that real following. But not Pittsburgh has a very large country and Western fan club that filled up what's it called? The name of the stadium changes every 2 years. Whoever puts the highest bid in, they rename the music hall, and it's outdoors, and I think it was about 20,000 people, 17,000. I don't know, but it was packed, and it was really fun because we got to meet Dan after the show, and it was just a real neat time.
Yeah, I understood you were, at least this article I read said you were teaching him some disco moves and got him some green bell bottoms from back in the day. You gave me your green
bell dear. You still remember that, huh? That goes back.
That, man. Never forget that story. You have to go back to previous episodes if you want to hear about Ken and his disco days in New York City with his green bell bottoms and
baseball shirt. Yeah,
stories, man.
Yeah, that was and the platform shoes were the biggest thing. I learned how to walk on stilts. Remember how we made us all 6'2" and 3"?
Yeah, I had a pair of those too. That was nuts. They'd laugh as we wore that stuff today, wouldn't they?
They were expensive too. I remember everything about that fashion scene. They had us all suckered into some pretty high cost, clothing, apparel.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering when disco is going to make a comeback. What about you?
I don't want to see it. The reason why is just the music. Like I had a couple doses of music where the young folks that embrace the music, they drive the train, and they they're getting back into the talkie music where you tell songs, stories in a song. Remember how in the old days, the '60s, especially the Motown people and all those great artists, but they were just
Marvin Gaye. There's nothing wrong with me loving you.
Papa was a Rolling Stone. I mean, all those old songs that go, that just never erased. But they told a story in 2 minutes and 12 seconds.
But see, that's the deal about country music. To me, I love country music because I think country music tells stories. I mean, I think it really does. And but that's cool stuff, man. That's cool stuff. But listen, man, we got Aaron Gorka coming on later in the show. And he's got some interviews that he's done, our man in the field. And outside that, Kenny, we got some control stuff to talk about. But you got some shout-outs, right?
I sure do. It's fun to keep in touch with the industry and recognize some of the great things people are doing. We've got, I think about 6 or 7 of them. We got graduating Paul Labasio, who starts a new position as Director of Business Development at Merlin CSI. We have Steve Hoffman is celebrating a 2-year anniversary. We're congratulating Ron Lohm. He's a CPP, RCDD, PSP, and BSCP for a new position at North District Community Credit Union. And Rob, that's CCP. That stands for Certified Protection Professional. Back in the day, that's what I had. It's for security, but it was a very difficult test, and it was you had to study a whole lot about the security in different markets, hospital, retail, whatever. But anyhow, and Brian Pike had an update. So
I haven't heard from Brian Pike in forever. Where is he now?
He is branch manager at SESCO Lighting Inc. So he's branch manager at SESCO Lighting, and they're, he was always one of the leaders in the lighting world. With
don't you remember he had that thing that they were putting on the telephone poles, replace the lights with the video cameras and all that? And
sure do.
He's a super smart guy. Brian Pike, get in touch with us, buddy. Hadn't heard from you in a long time.
He went to where did he go? It wasn't.
Well, he was a building automation contractor forever.
Yeah, and but he went to
what was the company? The other lighting company that he went to that we used to have on sometimes. Pete Horton and those guys were with him. WattStopper.
Yeah, he went to WattStopper. They bought. He had AIC Wireless. Was what I was trying to think of. And they had. Remember Chicago? They had all the city's wireless control their lights and for billing purposes and everything. Yeah, that was pretty.
Yeah. So Brian Pike, if anybody knows the value of a Control Trends Award sponsorship, it's you, buddy, because we helped get your product on the map back in the day. And
right. We have one more. We have. Remember Dave Lorenzini? He had a birthday last week. We wished him happy birthday. And Desiree Minehair from KMC Customer Service.
Well, Dave Lorenzini was the Google Glasses guy, right?
He sure was.
Yes, he had a birthday?
Yes, he did.
So he promised us some Google Glasses. We were going to wear them on the air, remember? We were going to wear them from now on. That was going to be our signature.
Well, remember he did. He let, it was at, it was at the Tritium, I think one of the summits. Or no, it was Realcomm. It was Ed Merwin. Ed Merwin got a chance to check out Dave's glasses, remember?
I remember he did. Yeah. I mean, we got some interviews on Control Trends from back in the day where you can hear Dave Lorenzini. Fascinating gentleman. I mean, he's been in Google Glasses for crying out loud. Who knows what he's up to now, but we do know he's a year older.
Right.
So happy birthday, Dave. And listen, Scott Hoffman, is that the Scott Hoffman that used to be with Cochran, is with Honeywell National?
No, it's another Stephen Hoffman. There's a couple of Hoffmans. Steve Hoffman from Honeywell, Steve Hoffman. This guy here is down in, let's see here. Anyhow, I met him on LinkedIn. We linked up, I guess you call it, or LinkedIn together, and he follows Control Trends. So everybody that messages us through LinkedIn, we try to give them a heads up and appreciate their viewership and the inputs that they give us. So. Absolutely.
All right, big dog. Well, we had some pretty interesting posts this week. I think we're going through a touchy-feely phase thanks to Ken Nostradamus Sinclair and the humanization and the kinder, gentler building, that whole trend, which we sort of, I think I'm like you, Kenny, and that when Ken Sinclair says something, he's usually 3 or 4 steps ahead of everybody else at least. So at first you're kind of going, what, really? But virtually everything he says sort of comes to fruition. So we're paying attention, we're tracking it, but let's do a couple of posts.
He wrote us a nice little email over the weekend, and he was saying how, like you said, some of the things that used to, here, I'm going to read it real quick because I think it bears, attention. He said, it's funny, we all grew up in fear of people talking about us and name calling now, which are both fashionable and good for us. Seems more people talk about stuff and present unreal concept. The unreal concepts become AHRA Expo items. So he was saying how we took some pretty stuff out in left field, brought it to the center stage, and now it's mainstream. Now it's a trend, like you said, the touchy-feely thing. Was it John Nesbitt that said high touch?
Yeah.
I mean, it's it. I mean, we got a great post.
So can you give him some stable data about Nesbitt and all? Because the book Megatrends goes back to the 80s. Kenny and I both read it, but it was kind of an interesting concept. Nesbitt, and the theory is, and Kenny, you probably can speak to this from your Air Force intelligence days. The theory is if you monitored like newspapers, there was a certain amount of content they could put in newspapers. Probably not relevant today. You'd probably have to do something like a Google search to get a similar algorithm. But the deal was you could monitor the types of things that were getting posted, not posted, but printed in the newspapers because there's a limited amount of space. And over time, you could begin to predict trends. And so back in the 80s, he predicted all these trends, which many of them came to be right on, which was pretty impressive for the methodology that he uses. It would kind of be like ranking Google searches and going through and figuring out, what the trends are. But I think his method might have been more accurate. But out of that, the trend that Kenny's referring to is one called high tech, high touch. And what his prediction was, his trend was that the more high tech you got, the more you were going to need to balance that with high touch. So, back then computers were just getting started. But, like if you got more in computers, then massage would go up because, as a humans, we need both of this. And now I think we're starting to see that in smart buildings, right? Where they're paying attention to the touch and the feel of the building, not just the fact that it's turning the AC on or turning the lights on and so on and so forth. So you're going to hear a lot about that. And I think, probably maybe one of the trends of this show might be, Kenny, is that, as usual, we're trying to alert our community to trends that we're seeing that we think have validity so that you can be prepared to take advantage of them. And again, I think we're ahead of this one. I think, we're going to hear more about this over the next year or so, but as a smart building controls integrator, it sure doesn't hurt to be aware that this is showing up on people's radar as extremely important because it could be your differentiator.
Yeah, I did, like you said, the mega trends. I remember the first experience I had I was in high school as a senior. We had to read the book, and it might have been a little bit beyond most of us back then. But basically, identified and explored the 10 basic trends that are now restructuring and redirecting American life, optimistically defining the ways in which America is changing socially, economically, politically, and spiritually. But the second time I bumped into mega trends was I was in the Air Force at one of the the training class. Excuse me, and the thing was that the Air Force had a lot of systems that were very advanced, and people were learning a lot of smart people involving in a lot of high tech things, and people were losing communication skills and intercommunication capabilities. So the concern was to let people know that no matter how high tech you're working in your environment, you still need to have good social skills to be able to supervise and manage people. So one of the classes they had was a high tech, high touch. They extracted some of the stuff from Megatrends and really put it down on paper how no matter how, whatever your environment, you still have to maintain a good humanistic approach. And people are driven by behaviors. And if you want people to be successful and you want to lead them, you have to understand how these new technologies are impacting people in ways that we don't even realize it. And we'll come to that in the post with the lighting. There's forces at work that unless you stop and take a look at them, you don't realize the impact they're making, whether they're positive or negative. But if you know about them, then you can certainly identify things and maybe, and you said to the systems integrators point, there's the rapidity of change right now. Last year and the year before, we talked about disruption. We talked about different things that, the sweet spots were changing. And so to move laterally in your mainstream, what you do for a living, you need to make movements either above or below where you're presently at or sideways, because nothing is staying the same. And how you made a living, 5 years ago has evolved into a lot more challenges, a lot more competition, but there's still opportunities if you move laterally or whatever. And we talk about Rolling Oaks with that channel strategy.
Yeah. We're going to be going to that conference in Philadelphia, and we'll be keeping up with her as a conference call with her company that we're on. We're on one of her boards, so we'll be keeping you posted on that. So I think that gives us another view into what's going on. And I want to sort of cycle back, and we'll talk more about it. But getting back to your sort of high touch, high tech. Ken Sinclair, if you go back a couple of weeks ago, we had him on. He was talking about Alexa and how important that was. So I bought a couple of Alexas because we really think that voice activation, based on Ken's theory, which I agree with, is going to be the wave of the future for control systems. You're not going to touch things. You're going to talk to it. So anyway, long story short, bought a couple of Alexas. And my 3-year-old and my 5-year-old are all over it now. They talk to it all the time. It's playing music. It's doing this. It's learning their voice. And then I did a little more research on Alexa, and Kenny, you know what the number one drawback to Alexa is? And this gets back to the high touch, high tech, is it's teaching the kids bad manners, right? Because my kids just go, Alexa, play this. Alexa, stop, go, stop. So, very curt, very direct, commands. So the number one thing is it's teaching kids not to have good manners. So my prediction is But you'll have a kid-friendly version of Alexa where you have to say, "Please, Alexa, would you do this?" and "Thank you, Alexa," after it's done. Or
And you should jump on that with both feet. Get that patented or whatever you call it, copyrighted, because that's a great idea.
Yeah, well, you know what? But it's a pretty cool thing, and Ken talked about it being a virtual assistant. And I got to tell you, when I'm writing the post, I always hated to write the post because I never could spell, and the spell check would never work right. Now I just go, Alexa, how do you spell cat? What? Alexa, how do you spell cat?
I'm not playing today.
She doesn't know that. She goes, sorry, I don't know that. So obviously, things are still in the works there. But
well, the voice user interface, I see it too. I get in my car now. I say call Eric Stromquist. I say call Rita. Say mobile or home or whatever. I mean and I don't have to take my hands off the wheel. I mean it is becoming integrated to the point where it become indispensable.
Yeah, and in Georgia anyway, now it's hands free. If they catch you talking on a phone or dialing a phone, they'll write you up.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got to do what we get. We have to make it a safe world. I can't wait till autonomous vehicles become the mainstay because I love Uber. The less driving I have to do now, especially in a city where we're traveling and renting a car is very arduous. Going to the airport, wait, and if you just jump out of the plane, get your bags or not even, and then just go outside and there's a car waiting for you. Life doesn't get any simpler or better than that. The person's familiar with the city. There's no parking issues. So yeah, it's all happening. And so that's why we're trying to, again, like we'll talk about the post too, but I mean, we're synthesizing these concepts and whatever. So we were in the building renaissance from the smart buildings. We're seeing how we do this stuff in the States. We walk inside of a building in Europe and we take a look at the way they operate, the way their lights function. In hotels, remember how I was flabbergasted the first time I had to put my card into that little switch at the door or nothing turned on. And when I pulled it out to go out, everything shut off, everything. So, we got to realize that and experience that firsthand. And now it's coming to America. So a couple hotels that stayed in America now have that same concept. But the cool thing about what we're doing here and these trends is that they will enter our purview, our space with buildings, the user interface. And again, we have a couple of posts we talked about the smartphone. It's all mobile first. There are no real desires anymore to have, that huge thing on the wall that has many little gimmicky things and, plays on people's nerves, or they got to get up and go to it. I mean, you have to have displays. I'm not saying they're going to go away, but the fact that they're going to be secondary or redundant because the primary focus is going to be somebody, if they're chilly or they're warm, they're going to go to their phone and just going to hit up arrow, down arrow, whatever. And
they're just going to say, I'm hot, I'm cold, because we're going to get to the voice activation thing.
Right, but you might not have that. I mean, you might be in the middle of a meeting where you can't really say I'm hot, or whatever. The reason why,
Kenny, I mean, I know you've been in middle of meetings all the time, and especially if women are involved, you look over and go, I'm hot. Right? You do that all the time, man. Come on.
Sure.
Don't pretend like you don't do that. All right, let's get to some posts, buddy.
All right. Well, the first, because leads right into it. The Sentient Building Awareness at Realcomm 20 IBCOM Conference. The Control Trends, you and I were on Realcomm Live at the launch pad, and we got to meet David Unger, the CEO of Sentient. And these guys really have an advanced, building control, building monitor, and control system. And they really focus on transforming the built environment, delivering real-time building awareness through applications of the IoT technologies connected to the smart controls, gateways, reporting to cloud platforms. So sentient building systems imbue a building with active intelligence, radically changing how energy is used, comfort is managed, and the overall system health is maintained. So this is a real smart guy with a real smart system, and it's just another one of those smart building, enterprise level applications that's almost out of the box. I mean, watch the video, you'll see some pretty neat stuff. And if you go to their website, they're very advanced. And yet, before this show, I never heard of them. Before that launch.
This guy in New York City, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So he's also using wireless too. That whole system is based purely on wireless.
Well, there's another guy that the one where we were underneath the bridge. Remember that the European guy, the doctor? From Germany? No,
but this guy, the video, the guy from New York City, super smart guy.
Right. But I'm just saying that it's another possible competitor or ally in the smart building, environment. Right. There's another person coming into the market that doesn't sell a control line, doesn't represent, any of the big five or even the newer, control lines that are coming out that are in the business. It's a new, again, I don't see it as an adversarial development. I see it as a reality that you're going to be partnering with somebody that delivers these high level building automation or building
Yeah.
level. These, like he calls it the, it's a great interview, and he does a good job explaining. We have the link to their site too, and if you go to it, you'll see that there's just all charts, graphs. So they got the user interface down. They've got the building analytics down. So they implement wireless IoT device networks tied to cloud-connected controls, enabling advanced monitoring, automation, and management solutions. And they know all about BACnet. They know all about Niagara. So, but they've got 600 apartments outfitted with this. They've got the building automation, controlling all the way down to wireless radiator valves installed, the 9th largest office building in New York City.
Yeah.
And so,
now,
wow.
I think the big takeaway I got from him too was that he's really mastered wireless. I mean, it was pretty impressive that probably 95% of what he does is wireless. Now, you want to hear something funny, Kenny?
Sure.
This is how distributors in our business roll, smart building controls distributors. I must have gotten 10 emails from different distributors going, "Don't be talking to my customer."
When?
So, me and the distributors are pretty protective, right? It's like, hey, what are you talking to my customer for? Well, we were interviewing him for Realcom Ivacon. So, but very, very, it's definitely worth checking out. This guy's super sharp. And you know what they say, Kenny, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, New York City. Then. So,
yeah.
All right, dog. What we up next, man?
All right, Vicon announcement. Niagara 4.6 is here. Modernize your framework to save time, effort, and most of all, money. So it's a long-awaited release from Tritium. It's downloadable, so we got a link there. So you'll have to be a registered Niagara partner because it goes into a secure sign-on. But Tritium has released Niagara 4.6, a significant advancement in our open-framed Niagara 6 provides our open framework. Niagara 4.6 provides fertile grounds for developing applications that drive building automation systems forward, help businesses take care of full advantage of the IoT. Specifically, the features that are really, really important involve cybersecurity, but they access to the system's database spanning the entire network Niagara system, visualization enhancements such as mobile refresh for PX views with dynamic response, and tools including bulk tagging and templating that reduce repetitive integration tasks and simplify consistent taxonomy in conformance with BRIC, Haystack, and other industry standards. So pretty good stuff, and I know a lot of our customers were excited to get it. So
yeah, for sure. And Kenny, I got really bad news for you. You're no longer the coolest guy in the controls industry.
That's okay.
Gareth Johnson is the guy that if you were at the Niagara Summit, the guy that got him played the blue guitar. Oh yeah. My gosh. And he's the guy that was really behind, I think, most of, not all of this release. So we're endeavoring to get him on the show soon. He is.
He wants to be, we're making, bridging he wants to come on, and we certainly want him on, but yeah. And we want to get to his next concert too. So
yeah, we do, man. And I don't think we have any video of him playing the guitar, but when he comes on, Garth, when you come on, man, maybe you'll play the guitar. Maybe you bring an acoustic guitar and we can chat and play the guitar. Remember when Terry Swope did that intro for us from Link Spring, and he sang us a little song?
Sure did.
That was cool. We got to have more musical people in our industry.
Well, there are a lot. I mean, look at the what's John Petsy's band that play at Haystack Connect.
Roger Revenak and yeah, and of course, then Kenny will lead the dancers. With
Richard Bogle's a great guitarist.
Yeah, Richard Bogle is a great guitarist, but I think Garth Johnson, man, I think he's the guy, man. So, all right, well, good stuff from Niagara. They're on the move, and thank you to Niagara. They are a proud platinum sponsor for the 2018 Control Trends Awards, which will be taking place January.
Where?
In Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta.
At the Fox Theater. And if you want to know how to get to the Fox Theater, just go to Honeywell's new corporate headquarters and look out a window, and that's where the Control Trends Awards are going to be.
Cool. I can't wait, Eric. The more I hear about Atlanta, I've been there numerous times, and I've been with you taking the shortcuts across Atlanta. It's a big city, and it's growing. So, I mean, a neat place. But I can't wait because it's going to be milder weather than Chicago, which is always a good thing. And then there's a lot to do, a lot to see. But the show's really well situated. So it's close to
the Fox Theater is so cool. And, of course, you got so many great players like, Honeywell, and that's their corporate office is now. Acuity, which owns Distech and DG Logic and others, is based in Atlanta. ALC is based in Atlanta, and the list goes on. I mean,
BACnet
International, ASHRAE's here. So, A lot of people here, so this could be bode to be a really, really big show. So,
well, and speaking of Honeywell, that's our next post. Honeywell Homes name reveal, and that name reveal thing. If you don't read it well or the first time, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But we just had a gender reveal. My daughter Sabrina, who was pregnant, had a gender reveal. That's where they pop a balloon. If it's pink stardust coming out or blue, that reveals the if it's a boy or a girl. Really cool. So it's kind of neat.
Well, hang on, Kenny. Now, if you listen to the show, you know what Kenny's expecting. Tell him, is it going to be a granddaughter or a grandson?
Granddaughter.
And I understand Erica is at the top of the list of potential names.
It's one of the trending names for sure.
All right, good.
My wife likes Katerina, but that's a German thing. So
yeah.
Anyhow, the Honeywell Homes name reveal, a message from Michael G. Nefkins, president and CEO of Residio. And we've got the video capture on there, so we were able to post that. It says, as you've heard from previous communications, Homes and ADI Global Distribution will be spinning off from Honeywell to become an independent company. We expect the spin to be completed by the end of 2018. And it's kind of a neat thing. They took two names. They took residence, the person's home, a place where someone lives, and Presidio, which is a fortress, and they came up with Residio. And they're really excited about it. They think, I'm sure they went through Madison Avenue and they got the top ad people in the world to come up with this, but they needed something that could support an extraordinary effort that they're doing to make Honeywell. They have presence in over 150 million homes, and they needed something that could really capture the concepts, the thoughts of safety, comfort, security, strength, reliability, and trusted in a combined world that expresses our identity as a technology company. These are timeless messages that are the core to the new Residio business as they express our focus on the home and our commitment to keeping the users of our products safe and secure.
So Kenny, now that doesn't affect our group, the people that are systems integrators. That's the same. This is just basically just the residential stuff, right?
Well, it's tricky business. I'm sure your people at Stromquist have to go through it. You have to re-register just about everything to do with Honeywell because you had inroads into security, web security, and you also had things like the thermostats that were commercial, the backnet thermostats.
No, my question is,
it's not going to affect webs.
So is an AX contractor. You're not going to go in now and say you're still going to say, I'm a Honeywell Webs AX. You're not going to say I'm a Residio AX because AX isn't coming through homes.
Well, okay, but that's correct. So they're definitely 2-3 separate business units, but you will have to, if you were an AX or a Webs N4 contractor, you have to re-register in Contractor Pro points, right. The Contractor Pro program, because there's going to be product overlap that the products that are in that you may be using as a Webs N4 are going to be coming through this new homes.
Right. So that's how it's going to affect you if you're in like a control trends listener. Yeah, I got you. But they should get Sean Connery, wasn't he in the movie The Presidio?
Yeah, that was in California, San Francisco. I remember the first time I saw that, I was really impressed because of the movie. It was a great thriller there.
He'd be a great spokesperson for Honeywell, wouldn't he, Sean Connery?
He sure would be.
They kind of do a Bond Connery.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite Bonds.
What's your home protected? Go with Residio. That's what I do. Residio.
That's what's in my
home.
Huh? Yeah, that's what's in my home. Yeah,
it's a cool name. I like it. It's got a ring to it.
Well, it's kind of it's out there, and I think that's what they wanted. They wanted something that would make people ponder over it, and then have discussions like we're doing right now. Yeah, that's what marketing is all about. It's the buzz. It's not necessarily going to solve the world's hunger problems. It's going to create attention and curiosity, and people will have they'll explore it, and that's what I think you need to do. So. That brings us on probably.
Well, hang on, real quick. I tell you what, our man in the field, Aaron Gorka from Ant Technologies, has been out, got some interviews, and I got some clips on that. So tell our people a little bit about Aaron, and then let's roll the tape of Aaron and his interviews. Because among other things, we're trying to get out in our community more, and we're trying to get the faces in the Control Trends community actually on Control Trends. So Aaron's been great at that, and if you would like to be interviewed by Aaron, or if you'd like to interview somebody and send your tape in, when I say tape, I mean your digital file, we'll post you on the show too. So,
well, Aaron, like you say, he was a hell of an athlete. Still is probably, but he was he missed the big show in hockey by probably a year or so. He was, I think, 24 or 5, but he was right there in AAA hockey, I think. And then his father's a very successful person in the contracting business, so he had like a dual track there, athlete, hockey player, and then very serious contracting business, because they came up with a very interesting, they're all about connecting and supporting, but taking over jobs and just monitoring from A to Z and giving companies, probably your mid-size to smaller size, but anybody can use it, obviously, on how to get started and track your business from A to Z. So in processing, it's paperless. And the thing about Aaron is he's probably one of the most dynamic, aggressive people you ever meet. He just never, ever gives up. And he was a young gun. He had established himself early on. Under 30 years old, he was already moving and grooving. He's the innovation manager at Ant Technologies, and I've introduced him to several people in our area, and they understand it. They get it to go. They generate the HVAC service reports, ready to invoice work complete, the technician hours, work description. Description of services, very articulated, so that there's no misunderstanding with what the customer thought they were going to get and what you delivered to them. So they really help you manage your project from A to Z on navigating the tools to navigate through all these stuff. So after our calls,
very affordable. Very affordable too, and I think it's more geared. I mean, most of your bigger service contractors probably already have something in place already, but man, if you're a 3, 4, 5, 10, maybe even 15-person outfit and don't have anything to digitize your workflow, he's great. And of course, he grew up in a contracting business, so he understands what contractors need. So he's not some software geek. And I think he epitomizes kind of the high-touch, high-tech guy, right? Because to your point, man, he's a very personable guy, and as you'll see in these interviews.
Yeah, I feel so bad with all these really outstanding contracting companies that are mid-size, and particularly the ones that are now immersing themselves into building automation. It's very difficult to complete the job. It's very difficult to get that punch list resolved and get your final payments and turn things over, begin the warranty periods. Because it's always the damn paperwork. It's always the manuals and things that just drive you crazy. The ladder diagrams, the terminal termination, the paperwork that identify the job on the two-dimensional thing that where they put it in 3D now with digital technology now. So what these guys have is every time you're generating something, the corollary and the papers that go with it. So if you bought this particular control, the operator manual's there, the wiring diagrams there, so and that's the stuff that is really still challenging in this day and age, is getting the damn paperwork done.
Well, good stuff. And here's Aaron.
Aaron Gorka, young gun for Control Trends, doing a report from emerging leaders at Hardy in Columbus. I have Nick Benton here, manager, training HR solutions. Nick has really spent a lot of time with me making sure that I'm comfortable here, and got a couple questions for him. So, Nick, why don't you tell us about really what you guys were aiming to do with the emerging leaders this year and as a program as a whole?
Yeah, so the topic this year is leading teams, and it's part of the core curriculum in the Emerging Leaders program. So we have 6 topics that we rotate through to ensure that the participating members have all the tools that they need to develop their business acumen. So this year specifically, we have a lot of new members, yourself being one of them, and the feedback has been really, really good so far. So it's always good to see new faces in the industry. They get to hear and see what the program's really about. It's really one of our fastest growing programs, and hopefully you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah, I remember I showed up here and I met Eileen, and it was like, okay, I don't know anybody here, and it's been a long time since I had that, but everybody's been very welcoming. I mean, this is HVAC and control. It's a great industry to hang out in and we have fun in the evenings, right? I think you're hurting a little bit today.
Yeah, we definitely we're productive throughout the day, and then we like to have fun in the evenings for sure.
We're all so young, we haven't figured out all the hard lessons yet, right? Any message to anybody listening here, contractors or manufacturers? I mean, this does go all over the world, so I mean, any advice or anything, final message?
specifically to suppliers and manufacturers, I think this is it's a great opportunity to network with distributors, but also get the same tools that the distributors are getting. I mean, it's a universally applicable concept with developing yourself as a leader, running successful businesses. It's win-win for everybody. So we love to see representation from all of Hardy's membership at the Emerging Leaders Program.
Perfect. Thank you for your time, Nick. Until next time, I guess.
Thank you. Yes, hopefully I'll see you at the next one.
Will do. Hardy's basically wrapped up. We're sitting in a parking lot waiting to do a tour of Worthington Industries. Got a fella named Jake here, one of the many friends I met. Jake, go ahead and introduce yourself, what you do, where you work, etc.
My name is Jake Charleston. I work for a family business based out of Fremont, Nebraska. I work in Omaha, Nebraska as a territory manager. We have 6 locations in the Midwest: Sioux City, Des Moines, Kansas City, Omaha, Lincoln, and Fremont. I'm a territory manager for them right now. My old man is my boss and president. We'll retire here in the next 5 years, and I'm at this Emerging Leaders Conference to hopefully take over some responsibilities that he has right now.
Cool, man. So what I'm going to do, I'm from a family business too, work directly with my old man. I don't know if he'll ever retire, but you know how it works with them, right? So let's kind of focus on that a little bit. What's probably the best lesson you've ever learned from your old man?
The best lesson I've learned from my old man is nothing's given to you, ever. And sometimes that's hard to see from the outside in. On my position and my title in the company, nothing's ever given to you, and he's not given this company to me either. It's something I have to work for, and I have to gain the trust of our employees and our contractors, and I have to work for it.
So your dad's a bit of a hard ass a little bit. Yeah, mine too. Same deal. That's probably, I can take that one with it. And what would probably be one thing that you're going to do, say, differently next time, or should you earn that opportunity to run the organization? Like, what would one thing different, or even the same be, and why?
Well, there's a lot that I will do differently. One thing in particular, I'll try to think. He stays at one local branch more than any other branch. I'd like to be going to every branch throughout our company and talk to people, because they want to see the person in charge and that person cares. Instead of sitting at a desk at one certain location and calling these people, they want to see your face.
That's a pretty good one, actually. As we, and that's from a millennial too. Everybody out there, we all look at all the new technology to disconnect from each other, not see each other's face. But really, it's most important to be face to face, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So to wrap this up, Hardy was good. Besides the fun we had together and with others, what's probably say one takeaway that you're looking forward to on the Hardy front?
To be truthfully honest, more than our speakers and everything like that, I've learned that creativity is key in being a motivator and a leader. But knowing the people that come here and what they do and how they can help me, whether it be a supplier or a manufacturer, and getting those relationships with guys and hearing their ideas is the biggest takeaway that I could ever get from this.
Perfect. And I guess that's it, man. We're going to see each other over the years in different spots, and one day we'll be old and gray like our old men and everybody else around us in this industry. So thank you for your time, Jake, and let's get in there for that tour.
Thank you, Aaron.
Woo! Aaron Gorka, young gun for Control Trends reporting. Hardy's about done. We're at Worthington now. Got a friend here named Jose. Jose, introduce yourself.
I'm Jose from Mexico, west region of right in the Baja with California. So and we are the newest team in Hardy, Mexico Hardy member team.
So what we'll start with here, because I'm the only Canadian guy here, you're the only Mexican guys here, right? Your team, right? So what are some of the differences you find as a distributor between say Latin America or Mexico, and then the other the United States and Canada, just in conduct of business and challenges that say your contractors face?
Well, there's a big gap over there between the two regions you said about. First of all, the way we distribute it's totally different than the way that the U.S. and Canada distributes. By the other hand, it's how you deal with contractors and final customers. So for us, being a Hardy member, it's to learn how you deal those businesses, and so we can improve in those areas and growth. Besides that, there's a lot of learning we have to work with. As many places you can read, education in Mexico or Latin America, it's way much different. So it is their chance to achieve as a contractor or to have a license. It's totally different in our country. Even there are contractors who doesn't have a license because you don't need a license. So there's way much things you need to fight with the way we do things in Mexico.
Interesting. So I'm sure to some degree that can make things go faster, at times too. If you don't need this, if it's not as highly regulated, then you can theoretically get things done faster, right? Now, I guess as a whole, are the building systems different? Like, do you think the parts you guys are putting in, it would be different than again, USA or Canada? What do you think about that?
Well, let's put it in a point of view. The thing is that the contractor and the government, they're not licensed to just sell or install product. So if you want to install, you have to learn. You go to school, you go to courses, you go to maybe you get approached to the supplier, and they will teach you how to do things. Maybe you can have a degree of engineering in some sort of topic, but not a refrigerant engineer, and then you can sell refrigerant products only. So in that point of view, there's many things totally different. And if we're talking in the area of construction, well, there's Mexico. It's a very different way we do our buildings, and the region and the weather is totally different. You might have some areas in the United States or Canada where it's the temperature is quite extreme. You have really cold weathers and really hot weathers. So in Mexico, you have a really climate, a pretty good climate. Right now, with the heat wave, you have those extreme points, but we are just in the beginning of it.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes sense, right? More hot, more humid. I guess depends on where you are. Whether you're coastal or in the middle or on either side, right? So, what would you say now to wrap this up as is you're going to be your big mission as an emerging leader? Like, what do you want to really do over the next, I don't know, whatever your career say? Like, what do you really want to accomplish?
As an emerging leader programs, I would like to accomplish become a member or part of Hardy, mostly for Hardy Mexico division. I would like to share our learnings to our other wholesalers in Mexico, so they can get involved in Hardy. Besides that, and personally, what I would like to achieve is to growth in our wholesaler distributor business. So I think that's the two mainstream things I want to grow.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Jose. It's nice to meet you. I hope to keep in touch. And I'll tell you, Ixtapa is one of my favorite places to visit. So maybe I know it's south of you, but maybe we got to make a trip or something. Hey.
Oh, thank you very much, Aaron. Yeah, you are always. We'll be happy to receive you in Mexico anytime.
Aaron Gorka, still at Hardy. I got Raul here. Raul, why don't you introduce yourself, your role, and what you do?
Hi, Aaron. I'm Raul. I'm from Tampico, Mexico. That's the East Coast, right on the Gulf Coast. I am a third-generation owner of our business. It's a company that's been there for over 45 years, and I basically run the company now. Yep.
Okay, I'm going to go a little different direction here now because, we got a family connection here. So Jake and I, who's standing beside us, we're both second-generation family business. So what's the biggest challenge you have as a third generation, coming in and taking over? We can talk about leadership. It can be anything you want here.
Okay, so for me, the process was a bit different than what I've seen here in the States with other family-owned businesses, because I came into the business at a time where the business was it was doing okay, but I couldn't really continue to lead it because he had other interests, other business opportunities he was doing. So he asked me to come on board, and I did. And he left about 4 months after that. And I had no idea about HVAC or anything. So I got there. I'm still young, but I was younger, and I had to lead a team of people that some of them have been there for over 25 years, right? So the challenge has been, like Troy Mitchum says, to keep the people on the bus that need to be there in the right seats, right? And then to get the people that don't need to be there off the bus. Because there's, emotional attachments, there's people who've been there forever. And then recognizing the good things that the past generation has done, and then trying to implement new things. Because I think the challenge as we enter a new business, we always try to change everything. We think, oh, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, or why are they... And then you start realizing the value in the way people do things. And sure, there are areas of improvement, and then you try to change that. But one of the mistakes we do, people my age, around 30, is that we always think we know best, and we want to change everything right out of the gate, right? But that was a big lesson for me. So the first year I was there, I didn't change anything. I wanted to, but I said no. I'm going to observe, and then I'm going to start making changes, and that's how I did it. Yep.
I think that's a struggle for everybody young, like you says. We have a young dispatcher in our core business, and he sees it, and all he wants to do is, I think I can do better. I think I can do better. It's like, Steve, listen, man, take a breath. You got to learn how it works, and then we'll change it. It's almost a best practice towards innovation and change, right? So we'll jump to it now. What's kind of the best takeaway you have here, and what are you going to do, say, differently tomorrow when you get home?
Okay, so, every time we come to a Hardy event, this is, I think, my third Hardy event, we learn a bunch of stuff. We see best practices. I really enjoy the mentor-led sessions. I think that's the best part because you hear from firsthand from people with a lot of experience. And so I heard particularly in this session, two of the sessions I particularly enjoyed. One of them was crisis management, and that was real fun, and it was really interesting. I think we're going to go set up a bunch of scenarios back home so that we can be prepared, because we're really not. And we are. Well, we don't get much hurricanes. That's a story for another time, but there's Martians that live in the ocean, and they protect us. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, we all gotta believe something,
It's one of the... No, there's a cultural thing there. But anyway, I'll tell it later. So that's one of the things I want to do about crisis management. And then the other thing was the way we pay commissions and motivate teams to work together. That's something I'm really looking forward to implementing better, to get them to work as a unit and align to the same goal.
Yeah, Bud did a really good job talking about the old school way of doing it. He says, before teams were even a thing, he would assemble groups of people back together and send them out and just, get diverse teammates together and let them run. Right? I mean, so I guess as a whole, man, thank you for your time, and I look forward to, being back and meeting you again.
Thank you so much.
Aaron Gorka here, wrapping up my first exposure to the Hardy distributor group. What a great place. Thank you guys so much for having me and accommodating my last-minute request. Nick Benton and Chris and Eileen, you guys did an exceptional job. Brandon, I guess, was the guy I was dealing with over the web. But anyway, so this year, or I guess this time, Hardy put on part of their annual curriculum to graduate out of the Emerging Leaders program. This one was leading teams. huge passion of mine. Hockey player growing up, and it was one of my big struggles as a growing man or growing boy, I guess, is to keep control of my emotions and to truly be a leader. I may have been the informal leader on the ice, but I was never the captain. I never wore the C, and that was my own lack of emotional control at times. Right, lead by example is one thing, but you got to straighten up and be professional, and that was always my challenge. So I learned a bunch of good tactics, had great speakers that really challenged us and got us interacting. I think I would hats off to Hardy and everybody involved at the ability to create and facilitate what collaboration amongst ourselves, get us talking and into awkward conversations to some degree. I mean, not bad awkward, just challenging ones that was expanding all of our comfort zones, and they just did a really, really good job at it. The mentor-led tables was great. It was the industry veterans who'd been there, tried and true, giving us the emerging leaders some great advice and some tactics. It was an array of different animals where there was a crisis scenario regarding a hurricane, and it was a distributor who lived through that in 1993. We had some formal kind of problem-solving flows, you know what I mean, and a very informal treat from Bud, who'd been in the industry a very long time, and as he started, before teams were cool, you know what I mean, before it was even a thing. There was nothing, he just assembled a diverse group of people and sent them out on a really challenging task, and I think that's what we got to do with our industry too. And I know most of us do a good job with it, but I think it'll ring true for the next generation coming in too. So what I got here is a bunch of good interviews from a diverse crew. I hope you enjoy them. Thanks again to Hardy, and until next time.
So much. That's young gun Aaron Gorka, Ant Technologies. Check him out.
All right, this is I think one of the most beneficial posts we've had in a while, because it's written well. It's by the managing or the department marketing guy, and I have his name right here. I'm going to get it to you because the name.
Dennis Swoboda.
Well, yeah, but the Swoboda here. Let me just get him right here. Dennis Swoboda is the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at the Blue Ridge Technologies, a manufacturer of native backnet lighting control solutions designed for open communications with most building automation systems. But what I dug about his name was that back in the day when I was a kid, I knew Swoboda had a very, very strong baseball name. And Ron Swoboda, who was an outfielder, was one of the member of the 1969 Miracle Mets. So every time I hear Swoboda, I think back as a kid watching them, Tom Seaver, and them winning. Just was an incredible year for New York. They won with baseball, basketball, and football, I think. Anyhow, it was a great post for a couple reasons. One is that if you're in the business, you need to be starting a real serious campaign for lighting. And this article captures, as you said, the 300 metric has very, very interesting aspects, but you have to be able to explain really and truly what the benefits are and what the impacts are. This article could be used as a presentation on many levels. It was published in the ASHRAE journal, and ASHRAE has very high standards. So getting something published in that that article in the journal is very important. It's like medical or anything else. It's very seriously vetted. You can't blow your own horn about your products, companies. You got to give something to the community, and this article does it. I mean, it's one of the best captures of the different markets and what lighting does, especially to solve things like the mood swings inside of schools, K through 12 markets. It says in the field of education, the case studies focus on researching the benefits of color tuning or changing the color spectrum of light in the classroom. Specifically, providing a warmer, cooler light promotes a sense of calm comfort. And this is what you do when you got 8 schemes now, 8 scenarios, lighting scenarios. So in the morning, this is the lights. You want to have a reddish, like we are all tied to the circadian rhythm, and we don't realize the importance. When the sun rises in the east and we get that first sun rays, and in the absence of sun creates discomfort, and people don't feel comfortable. This documents it all. So there's an actual lighting scheme that promotes the best learning modes. Cold bluish lights in the morning increases alertness to get the students quickly into a learning zone, while warmer light in the afternoon can help calm students down after recess and bring them back into focus. Then he goes into the commercial office space, the same impacts there. I mean, it really and truly affects you if you don't have enough light or you're overlit. And he said, if you give people control of your lighting, the chances are they're going to turn down and not use as much light, because there's just an assumption that more is better with lighting, and it's not true.
Yeah.
And so that this is really good. Then the correctional custody, correctional facilities, same thing almost. The prisons, and there's a benefit if you control lighting. The natural progression of sunlight showed benefits in both physical and mental health in prison populations. And then finally, the healthcare industry, where it says that the research has shown that healthy circadian rhythm cycles can increase recovery rates, immune system strength. And so it's very important now to move forward and take some of the recommendations here. But of course, we're going to dovetail this into promoting Blue Ridge Technologies, because they've obviously got the mastery. They obviously understand the core nature and basic understanding of lighting, the criticality. Now, how do you control it? Because as we know, most of the buildings have lighting systems that are on their own. Most of them are still off on, and just now it's time to push it from all the different directions. So the contractors need to push it, distributors need to push it, manufacturers need to push it, and integrate it into a building automation system, because it's the number one energy saver, and now it's going to be the number one,
effector of the 300 metric.
Well, yeah, because it's going to help people. If you don't have a good lighting control system, you may not have the highest level of productivity from your people. It might be leading to absenteeism. I mean,
So Kenny, why do you think most of the systems integrators we deal with don't get involved with lighting? They just sort of walk away from it.
Well, I mean, from a trade side point, it's two different trades. You got your 449, your teams, your steam fitters, and then you got your IBW, and they basically live in two different worlds. You're seeing a lot of the both 449 in our area and IBW5, they realize that they got to get smarter, better, and you got to get into building automation from one push to the other. We're seeing things happen that wouldn't happen before, from the specification. The fact that they're located in different divisions inside of a specification tends to extricate the bidding process, and somebody's not going to worry about it. If it's not in their spec and they don't have to provide it, then good riddance. They don't want to bite any more than they have to. But the new things that we're seeing, the way the divisions are being written, we're seeing the master systems integrators come in from the 30,000 foot level, sitting down on top of a job to make sure all these silos are integrated. So we will probably at the end of our careers see this thing finally happen, where there can't be a non-integrated silo in a building for it to function. Lighting is so critical.
Right. No, it is. And I think, if you look at our industry right now, you got, great companies like Acuity that now owns Distech, right? And they've got a great bundle package. Siemens has got a great bundle package. I mean, most of the major manufacturers do. They're partnering with somebody. I think where Blue Ridge, and getting back to Blue Ridge Technologies, where I think they're a great fit is, first of all, you got guys like Bill Duckelberger, the founder of Blue Ridge, and guys like Dennis Saboto, who are obviously brilliant. But I think those are the guys that, that they can take your hand, they can walk you through the job, they can interface with anybody's system. For those of you who don't know, Bill started out, he was sweeping the warehouse at ALC, wound up becoming the president of it. So he came from a building automation controls background, and because of that, he relates to systems integrators, and he designed the systems with systems integrators and retrofits as well as new construction in mind. So I think all you have to know about Blue Ridge Technologies is ask Bill how much he charges for his training classes, which are very extensive and very great. You know what he'll tell you? They're free. Come to Blue Ridge, Georgia, which is just north of Atlanta, suburb of Atlanta, and he'll train you. They'll walk you through it. So Bill's the type of guy that he's a smaller company, obviously, but he's the type of guy that, he takes care of customers first, great product. So if you are on the bubble and looking for wanting to get in the lighting side of the business, I encourage you to check out Blue Ridge Technologies and Bill Duckelberger. Those guys can put you on a path. They can get you in this game. And I think what Kenny is saying, which is critical, is building automation controls and lighting controls are going to become one and the same. Okay? They have to. And like Kenny says, the energy and the $300 portion of it that's the dog, okay? The building automation controls is the tail. So you're going to have to get on the lighting side of it. And I think that the building automation contractors are more equipped to be able to do the integration than the lighting contractors. So, agreed?
You know, that's a difficult question to answer because, you know, I have friends and you know, people that I respect in the business that, you know, they all think they can do it. They all want to do it. And who actually has supreme responsibility is that we were just talking about moving laterally, you know, into your sweet spot, you know, or out of your sweet spot into new business and new partnering. We've seen people that, who the greatest person to put the lighting in is probably the people trained in you know, low voltage and you know, and in the trade world, you know, the electricians aren't going to give up, you know, anything to do with lights. They're going to maintain that and go from lighting into BAS. The other trades are going to go from BAS into lighting. So you're going to see both sides, you know, approaching it differently with different partnerships and different manufacturers. So if you get, you know, we talk about WattStopper, how they had, what is that called? Distributed Lighting Management, DLM. We used to be WattStopper distributors here in the area, and then they got bought out kind of, or merged or whatever. Next thing you know, they took that channel from us and gave it to people on the other side, not necessarily competitors, but certainly not, you know, it wasn't a good thing for us because we were integrating it, and it was working, you know, because we knew we had the components. We knew that everything would work together through BACnet. And then, you know, some of the other people that sell that don't want to be friendly. They didn't, so they put a lighting system in that was deliberately not intended to integrate with our building automation system, and it's still out there like a lump of coal. Won't dissolve, won't go away. And so who's the more competent? I think the progressive engineers like Donnie Walker and all the guys that we try to make you know, bring the spotlight to, they have inherently the responsibility to make the building owner aware of what the limiting factors could be coming to them. So the expense, you know, the original upfront costs that look a little bit more than, you know, they want to see, but the benefits are so huge and whatever. And so who's the best person to do it? I would say all the above.
Well, no, I agree with that. And I guess my point being, if you are coming from the temperature control side of BAS, right, our traditional guys, and you're looking for somebody to partner with, I think Blue Ridge is a great place.
Oh yeah, I agree. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And the thing that Blue Ridge does, I think, as well as anybody out there, is retrofits. In other words, just because it's there already and it's all just relays and just, you know, one panel after another of relay packs, you know, they could come in there and they can retrofit that and bring that onto the network.
Oh, yeah. Very, very easily. And I think the other thing too, go back on Control Trends. We got numerous videos of their products and how easy it is to use. But again, I think the takeaway is, Bill Duckelberger's Blue Ridge Technologies, good people. We got great people, and you know, obviously other great people too, but good people, accessible. He came from building automation controls,
yep.
ran ALC, so he really designed everything with the traditional DDC contractor in mind. So,
and it's very well designed, like you said. So he knows what it's like to be up on a ladder, you know, with a screwdriver or a light, you know, holding the light and trying to screw things in. I mean, it's designed so well that it just makes sense from installers.
And he's the coolest guy in the industry too. I think we call him a cross between Albert Einstein and Sons of Anarchy, because I think if you buy enough of this product, he'll let you join his Harley Davidson club and go riding into put a leather jacket on and go riding with him. So, all right, man, best to Bill and Dennis and the rest of the team, and thank you so much for that article that was reprinted with BACnet Internet with their permission. So, all right, buddy.
This is a fun post now. This is a wrap-up post, I think. We got Flashback Friday, your new idea. I like it. It's about the Beatles and the smart building controls renaissance. I had to watch that video again because it is one of the I mean, it's the top 10 video of control trends. It's one of the best ones out there. The one in Paris was extraordinary. The one in Edinburgh, Scotland was extraordinary. But the thing is the synthesis of what we talk about and how it's not even a stretch, but we realized that the Beatles did something so extraordinary that's not stopped, okay, and changed the direction of music forever, permanently. My friend just gave me another book on John Lennon. This is a book where, this is from a schoolmate of John Lennon's. So there's John Lennon, there's the guy that wrote the book. They were schoolmates, and he's clarifying a lot of stuff that people have been passing on for many, many years that weren't quite correct. So, it's a great book, great read. The thing that we're seeing in technology, we're comparing technology, building automation to music. And we're seeing that, The Beatles got their sources of music from the Skittle bands they had playing in Hanover, Hamburg, I mean, and then coming back to high energy, 8 hours a day. They could play all day and all night, and that they still maintained the ability to synthesize different sounds, you know, whether it was Elvis Presley, whether it was Chuck Berry. I mean, they took all these different music sounds and made their own version of it. And then the lyrics were just so simplified and yet so you know, just so, you know, philosophically astute. You know, they you know, imagine all the people, you know, I mean, just everything that came in their minds was an amazing, you know, product. And yet their lives were very, very complicated and hard as kids. They both lost their mothers. Paul McCartney and John Lennon lost their mothers. So going into this video was a reminder of how these phenomenologies begin, and they have their roots in various sources and they come together. We're seeing that same kind of synthesis happening in building automation, where now instead of being music, it's data, and how the data comes in from all these different directions and is managed into one unified, you know, platform and one pane of glass, so to speak, and it creates the new building automation music. So it's kind of cool.
Well, I think so, and I think, you know, one of Kahneman's theory is that, you know, history repeats itself and history leaves clues. And if you think about, you know, the reason the Beatles are so great, and I mean, and they're not the only one. I mean, if you go through history, there are different people that changed the face of music, from Mozart to Beethoven to you know, the Beatles, but you sort of had this period of, this is the way we do music, and these guys came along, and by, I mean, people probably looked at them and laughed and go, you guys are never going to do anything, but they changed the game, and because of that change, I mean, music still has changed and progressed, but the Beatles influence everything that goes through with it. So, you know, what we're proposing is that in the Renaissance is, you know, another analogy that we use, because in the Renaissance, all the rules got thrown out, and I mean, it was like, hey, we're heretics. We're breaking all the rules. We're not believing anything. We're testing everything. And I think in our industry, we're seeing that. We spotted this, you know, several years ago at the EZIO conference in Paris is where it started. And we were looking for an analogy, and that made the most sense. And then going to that conference in Paris with EZIO and all the people from around the world that were there, we realized that something was really afoot, okay, and continues to be. I mean, I think if you follow Control Trends, or if you're in this industry, the changes you've seen in the last 2 years are like nothing in terms of the rate that they're coming at you that you've ever seen before. And we're sort of saying that, you know, with all the great innovations that have already happened, like Tritium and SkySpark, I mean, all those things, data analytics, we still don't think we've seen our Beatles yet. We still think that you know, we're in that phase before the Beatles hit, and so it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
But I mean, going on that same theory, okay, so you have like Optergy, you have KMC Commander, you have Johnson's Verisys, you've got Honeywell's LCBS Connect. You've got all these people stacking this technology out there, and yet it's still we still see the market is so you know, it's 70% is still free man's or any man's game, you know, any manufacturer's game. So to your point, we're seeing you know, that Microsoft Azure, and I apologize to the gentleman who corrected my pronunciation.
It's Azure. Microsoft Azure.
But the Microsoft people, you know, and Dell and Intel and Google and the humongous deep-pocketed entities that are looking at how they want to provide the services in the cloud, you know, and there's three gigantic providers, maybe four, and they're fighting now for data. They're fighting for everything. They believe it should be sucked up into their software, and then it can make the world a better place, you know. But and how it's going to get there.
Right, but you know, when you start talking about the big companies, see, I'm not sure. See, to me, that would be like traditional big bands that were already in the game and making it happen and trying to innovate on the music, you know. So yeah, I think those guys are definitely going to have an impact. We're tracking what they're up to. But I look at the Beatles being somebody like a Steve Gillespie at Optergy or EZIO or somebody like that, that's coming, a smaller person that's coming from the outside and going, they're starting from scratch. In other words, think about, with all the great technology we have in building automation controls, I mean, you know, if you got all the major players, Siemens, Johnson, Honeywell, and the rest of them, you got them in a room and say, okay, we got nothing today. Let's design a system for now and the future. How many of them do you think would design what they have now? I mean, it's not that their stuff is not good, but they have legacy systems that in a way encumber them, right? Because you have to take into account your legacy, where somebody's just coming into the game. They don't have any of that. They can create best of breed, lowest cost, because they have no legacy that they have to take care of. And I'm not arguing, by the way, you shouldn't take care of your legacy. I mean, hats off to, the people like Honeywell and Johnson and Siemens that are thinking about their existing customers and take that into account, because that would be travesty if they didn't.
Well, I think in this case, I agree with you. I like to believe in that, that there's somebody out there in a garage somewhere, like another Jerry Frank episode where somebody creates, Niagara. And we talk about Alper Oldsmeister.
He could be, one of them.
But take this in mind. Take a look at what somebody like what KMC did with Dell, what Siemens is doing with the J2 Innovation, with with the companies that they're buying, and how they're making they're synthesizing these capabilities to create the greatest, fastest. In other words, to your point, there's the co-opetition, and I like sometimes the way you say co-competition, because they are competing together, but at the same time they're expanding the market. I think the person or entity that can come in and take these different tool sets, these different applications, and instead of doing everything themselves in-house, make partnerships and friends, like Honeywell collaborating with Microsoft. I mean, there's just a perfect example. They could have done it probably. It would take them 6-8 years, but they buy, they share the resources, they buy their resources or whatever, and they have the synthesis comes together. It's an instant win. It's an instant entity.
I like
before.
Yeah, I like the synthesis, and maybe a more pertinent analogy would be, who would the Beatles been without the record companies? So the record companies could be the existing players, right? Who would the Beatles been without George Martin, who was a traditional guy that produced them, right?
Or digital. You mentioned the word. It'd go from the 45s and the LPs to downloading software, digitalized music. In other words, when the technology's there and it gives you a faster, better route. The problem we see is sometimes people don't take it because they want to maintain the control of that legacy world. They want to steer as much business as long as they can into their own corners, capture it. And we see this happening again and again. We see some of the things that we thought went away in terms of the actual choice when somebody begins to decide how they're going to do it. When they deliberately make it a proprietary entity and stick with it and ignore the fact that the whole world wants open, it just makes you wonder we're missing something, because
maybe we're not, because I think you could argue, people argue to you that Apple is, which I love, is a closed system, right? Where
it is, for sure.
So it's a closed system, and so the argument for a closed system is we can control it and have the quality. You better have a hell of a brand and be able to do it, but faster isn't always better, Kenny. I got to show you something. So.
Well, you got a whole bunch. I agree on one level. I agree with that. And that's the Beatles. All you need is love. Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is vinyl, right? There's no way in the world digital music is as good as vinyl music. It's easier to consume and get, but when you put a turntable on and put vinyl on, there's no experience in the world.
But then you need the turntable, but you also need speakers, and then you also need this. So what you've done is you created your little ecosystem of choice. In other words, you believe that your product is so good. 0 to 1 was the book that you and I both thought explained it the best. You want to create a monopoly. If you want to be successful and you really want to make a whole lot of money, you got to create a monopoly. And if you could create a product set, a portfolio that is worthy of a monopoly, you're going to get certain people to come your way. But when we talk about things more of a global, and more of like smart grid, and more of like all the commercial buildings that need managed systems, they need to bring their systems under control, turn things off and on when people aren't there or whatever. We need to have choices, and so the market stratifies, and we need products specifically for the small buildings. 50,000 feet and lower is I believe 80% of the market. And so when you're making your music and you're making your stuff, you got to make it so that it's almost out of the box solutions. It has to be watered and dumbed down so that people can almost do it at a do it yourself level, but then have a set of people, contractors, systems integrators that can do things that they would only do a portion of the work. Now they're going to have to really truly consider having the ability to do all of the work, have the partnerships, the links, or whatever it takes, so that they can't walk away from business anymore, because the business has changed. It's not like it used to be. Just this was my part. I walk away, forget it. It's not happening anymore. So the proprietary things like Apple, I do understand it in the home too. That if you've put a system in and it's not compatible with every other system, what have you done? You become a permanent indentured customer. You're captured. You got no choices. You got one choice: my stuff, or you won't.
Well, the difference in a home is your cost to change out is a lot less than a building. You do it in a building. I mean, the cost to change if you pick the wrong system as proprietary is.
But it's all about service.
With the home, yeah. So, dude, listen. Again, if you haven't seen this video, it's me and Kenny going around Liverpool. Kenny is a Beatles aficionado, knows a lot about the Beatles, so. It was really a cool time. We went everything from seeing their homes to Strawberry Fields to the Cavern. Kenny sort of walks you through, gives you all the 411 on what was going on. To me, it was one of the best videos we ever did, like you said, and primarily just because you're so passionate about the Beatles and you know so much about them, and it was just a really cool thing. And whether or not you think it relates to smart building controls or not is sort of besides the point. You should watch the video anyway, just because you get to tour Liverpool with me and Kenny.
Well, I appreciate the kind words there, but the guy that really primed me was a guy named Scott Weber. He's the true Beatle expert, and we went to school together, and we get a kick out of that aspect. That he was the first person that I listened to the Beatles with it. On one of those LPs. I never bought stereo equipment until I went in the military, and then my roommate had an emergency leave, and I bought all his stuff at wholesale pricing, and I got myself a gigantic system, and I probably did have one of the best audio systems you could buy, because we were in the Air Force and we were in Germany and we didn't pay any taxes on the stuff. So something that cost you $500 cost me $100.
Hang on, Kenny. Got a text. Got a question for you. Okay, so the question is: did your stereo system or your platform shoes and green bell bottoms get you more girls?
I can neither confirm nor deny any of this. No,
you still have the green bell bottoms, though, don't you?
No, I don't. They they died a horrible death. I think I got spilled something on them.
Brother. Hey, man. Well, good stuff. Anything else you want to say about? I think maybe next week we'll post the on Flashback Friday. We'll post the Edinburgh thing, because that was a lot of fun too.
Well, I think the Control Trends community, we appreciate their they put up with a lot of stuff. We slip and slide all over the place, but the thing is that I'm on the Ken St. Clair kick, where he wrote a nice email to us saying that we're just at the tip of the iceberg, and everything we see as a threat, as the overlord system coming in, taking over our businesses, is absolute nonsense. This is an opportunity. The time right now is a time of opportunity, not a time of despair. The thing is the mentality and how you go about dealing with it is what's challenging. And I think the truth is that the older you get, I'm reading that. Did you ever finish the book I gave you on that? This one here. It's called 3 Score and More.
I haven't finished it. No.
Okay. Well, anyhow, this is about how it's age discrimination and whatever, and how the older you get, the more you get pushed off to the side by whether you're getting free coffee or whatever. There's an assumption that you no longer have any real effectiveness, and you're losing your place, and you're not updating yourself. You're not keeping current with technology, and I think that's what the problem is our industry has aged very, very nicely. It's been the HVAC world is a great income for many people, but the problem is that we never broadcasted what we did for a living. So the young people growing up have no idea that there's this exciting industry that provides numerous opportunities. Whether you're a technician or a software writer, you should come into the building automation space and help do, like you said, it's a good, not only are you going to make good money doing it, but you're going to help make it a better world. You're going to make us more efficient, and we need people to do it. But in the meantime, the people that are controlling everything are pretty seasoned. They're 50 plus years old, and they don't really want to do something that they haven't done. They don't want new stuff, and yet they control the purse strings. They're the superintendents. They're the facility managers. They're the ones that we're trying to get a hold of and say, hey,
it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, and they got their constraints. They got budgets. They got career concerns. They open your mouth, you get shut down.
Last thing you want to do is get canned,
For trying
5
to
years
do
or
this.
10 years before you get to retire.
So that's where the trick is. That's where we're going to keep on, just so we're going to make our industry more appealing, more understood, more transparent, more integrated with the other things, and we'll just keep pressing on. But I think the shows that we're doing, I think that the people we have involved, the Aaron Gorkas are coming in, and they're not afraid to go out there and tell people, hey, stop it, or try this or whatever. So it's just it's a very interesting industry. And again, I'm with Ken St. Clair on this one. We got time of opportunity, not time of distress.
Very, very cool. All right. Well, speaking of Aaron Gorka, thanks, Aaron, so much for the video interviews. And again, if you want to be on Control Trends, just record an interview with an iPhone, send it to me and Kenny. We'll put it up on the show, man. We'll roll it. We'll roll it, as Kenny says. Roll it, big dog.
Okay.
So, with that, thank you so much for tuning in. Control Talk Now, your smart buildings video cast and podcast. I'm Eric Stromquist. He's the man, the myth, the legend. So remember, be bold, stay in control, stay relevant. In Kenny's case, stay informed and updated.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers.
Right.